Personal Capital free tool. Categories and tags for income items. Remove the cap on your capital by using Personal Capital free tool. Here we are in our personal capital practice problem. In a prior presentation, we connected to financial institutions to pull in some information to practice with. This time, we're going to be thinking about putting together basically an income statement, focusing in specifically on trying to carve out an income statement we might need for, say, a Schedule C type of business for taxes. Not the area where personal capital typically shines best, because where they shine best is the balance sheet net worth on the personal side, as well as possibly business side. But the income statement could be something that we can use to create from the financial data. Note, we're going to compare and contrast that to some degree with QuickBooks over here, which is utilized and does shine with the calculation of the double entry accounting system, as does other accounting software. Every accounting software will use that and focus typically on the business side of things. And so we'll compare and contrast a little bit going back and forth with this financial data, because we can retrieve it in a similar way and then use it to create financial statements, but it'll be done a little bit differently. So if we go back on over to Personal Capital, our first step then is to categorize the data. Now, this has to be done with any accounting software you use. If you want to construct an income statement from it, you got to take this information, put it into categories, including income and expenses, that you can then compile together. So to do that, there's a couple different ways you can go into the data. Notice normally we would be looking at, say, cash data and possibly checking account data to compile that information together so that we can create our income statement. Couple places that we can do this within the Personal Capital software. We can go to the account that we want to look at specifically, such as a PayPal account or a checking account or something like that, and then take a look at the transactions, which will have the fields of category and tags. They will be trying to assign a category already, but it's just a guess. So we're going to have to go back in there and double check those categories. You can also go to the Overview tab, go down to the Transactions, and this will give you basically all the transactions, which we can then use for the categorization here as well. That's really nice, because if you were to do the same kind of system and download the data from, say, the bank, then you'd have to go to each institution that you want or you may need for your income statement, such as a credit card account, checking account, possibly multiple checking accounts and multiple credit card accounts, and then compile them together. This system at least compiles it all together for you, which is kind of nice. So then you can go through, and once categorized, it should be fairly easy to then construct an income statement, although we will have to export the data to Excel to construct it. But really the difficult part is the categorization and the tags, and that's a similar difficulty we have with anything, even if you were to use, for example, QuickBooks. In QuickBooks, the thing that would slim things down is, hopefully most people would recommend that you just have one business account for the business, and you try to differentiate in that way as well and just enter the business data into QuickBooks, although you can enter personal and business and break it out with like classes. But if you were to do that, then you'd still have to go down here and categorize. So the transactions would be in the system, and once again, the system might try to guess what the categories would be, otherwise known as accounts, but you'd still have to basically make sure that those are correct, assign the correct accounts to make a proper income statement. If you don't do that, then you're going to have your income statement's not going to be right, because there's no way that any computer system can take raw data from the bank and properly categorize every transaction, because the bank doesn't have enough information. All they have is the increase, decrease, date, and the memo line. The memo line often being the key, along with the increase or decrease, for the system to try to guess where to categorize it. But no system is going to be perfect on that, because they just don't have, the bank data is not enough. So whatever system you use, I'm going to go back to Personal Capital. We got to do this kind of categorization system. In Personal Capital, you might have a little bit more sorting, because then again, you got multiple different accounts, because you haven't broken out the checking business versus personal. So you got to go through and then weed out all the business versus personal, which we can and we'll think about doing with the tags on the right-hand side to help us with that, so that then we can sort out the business versus personal. Also note, once again, you can't really download a whole year's worth of transactions if you're just starting with Personal Capital. Therefore, if you used Personal Capital for an entire year properly categorized, or then you categorize everything, you can then use this system. However, if you're just starting with Personal Capital now and you want to do an entire years of transactions, you might not be able to upload the entire years of transactions into Personal Capital because it only goes back so far. But if you used it for the entire year, then you should have that data, and you can then compile it however you would like. If you're starting from scratch, once again, note that you can use an Excel template, which is called Money in Excel. So you may be able to use that. That might be an option if you want to just download the transactions, because it usually downloads a higher amount of transactions, possibly 1 to 3 years of data that you could then use to compile your financials if you're looking at that at this point in time. It's a rush at this point in time and you're trying to compile everything. So that's one limitation. So we have the transactions area. We can add them. We can add them account by account, and we can also go to the banking and cash flow. This is a little deceptive, however, because you would think you might be able to go to income and expenses here, but note that these are only going to add the categories that it sees as income and expense. So you can't really go here to assign the categories, because what you're trying to do is assign the categories that are going to be either income or expense, and these ones are not going to include the increase that is a transfer, for example. So we can't really go here, to start off. We've got to go to the transactions tab or to each individual account. I'm going to go to the overview and transactions, and then the thing we're talking about here with the fact that whether it be income or not, if it's a transfer, for example, it's not an income or expense. A transfer is just going from one account to the other. Therefore, it's not going to be included in income. When we create our income statement, we're going to have to weed it out. We're also going to have to weed out anything that's personal if we're trying to put together a small business type of income statement. And we could do that. We'll try to do that with the tags field as opposed to a separate type of account that we'll set up. Now, I'm going to sort this first by the amount over here, because I can then focus in on the deposit information. And then I want to set the date range for 2021, let's say. So I'm going to set the date range for January to 3/14/2021. Note that you can also kind of go over here and get rid of the side panel so that you can see more data just in the middle of the screen. You can also hold Control down and scroll up, and that'll kind of zoom in, so it'll give you a little bit more information there. Now, these items that are transfers, if these were not transfers, then we'd have to deal with those. Now, for example, if you didn't connect your, like a PayPal account, for example, and you just wanted to record it as income once you transferred it into your checking account, let's say you got gig work from a company or whatever online, and then you don't want to record it as income until you transfer it to your personal account, then you'd have to wait till it hits your personal account and then record it as income at that point. You'd have to change it from transfer to basically income at that point in time. These two are transfers, so I'll keep them there. However, also when I kind of categorize this, I would like to be able to sort out the transfers, and this is where you can use something similar to like account numbers. So if I hit the drop down, for example, and I manage the categories, this is my category field. So we have our income categories, expense categories, other. The other categories probably will not be on our income statement when we look at the cash flows. They're going to be in other, and we could see down here the major one that they usually put into place is going to be this transfer category. Now, when I export this to like Excel, I'd like that to kind of be at the top. So I'm going to make this one, I'm going to change it, and I'm going to put like an account number in front of it, which I'm just going to say, let's say 1100. And that means that hopefully when I sort it in Excel, I can sort it to the top and I can remove it if I need to. So I want to make that one distinct when I export it. So I'll put an account number. That's not how you would use account numbers in like a QuickBooks, because QuickBooks I would usually start with assets, liabilities, equity. Here, I'm just trying to sort my income statement account. So I'm going to say, okay, and that one's got an account number. And then anything else that's a balance sheet item, I'm going to use uncategorized to do it. And I'll put this one in something up top and see if I can change that item as well. Doesn't look like they let me change that one. So I'm going to go ahead and add another category, which I'm going to put balance sheet. I'll just put balance sheet and other. And these are going to be all items that I do not want, basically on the income statement. I'll put an account number in front of it, 1110, so I can sort those out once again. And I'm going to put this into the category of transfer. And the reason it's in transfer, that means it's not going to be basically on the income statement. So I wanted to pull that out of income. So anything that's a balance sheet going from one account to the other, I'm going to put in either transfer, or if it's a balance sheet type of transaction, like I purchase equipment or something like that, and I don't want it on the income statement, I'll put it into this account. And when I sort those, they'll be at the top when we export. So then this one I'll keep at transfer and say done, and close this back out, and then I'll say done here. And that's how you go to that category list. So whenever we go to the category list, that's how you kind of got to get into the category list to adjust it. Now, everything that had a transfer in it has been updated automatically, which is nice. So it is kind of like reading the system. It's using some memorization. I cannot do as I do with a QuickBooks. If I go over to QuickBooks over here, notice that if I did a similar thing on QuickBooks, I can memorize the transaction and I can make a rule. I can make a bank rule, which is nice. That's a lot more functionality. I don't have that capacity over here in Personal Capital, but it does try to automatically remember some of the stuff that happens. So you got some ability for it to kind of start to memorize things. So I'm going to say this one's transfer. This is going from PayPal. So we're going to say transfer. And so that looks good. And then I'm going to go down and say, now the Stripe account, it's recorded as a transfer. Now Stripe is something that you might use in gig work as well. So you might get money and it's like a kind of an intermediary account, but it doesn't know where to read it, you know. So it's putting it in transfer. So I might have to change that. I got to go in and say, I'm going to make that at some kind of income account. Maybe I'm going to manage my categories. I'm going to make it some type of income. Here's the income accounts they have thus far. I'd like to create another category, and I'm just going to call it then income. And I'm going to put like an account number on it, 1050, because I want to sort it in Excel by the account numbers. And it'll be easier for me to do that if I put the account numbers, like an account number to sort the income on top of the expenses, for example. And then I'm going to call this like website income, imagining it comes from like a website or something like that. Here, I'm going to categorize it as an income type of item. And there we have it. So I'm going to say save it on that. And then I'll say okay. And there we have that item. So this one is still in transfer. I didn't change it. Hold on. I'm going to say this needs to be an income, website income. So there we have it. So I'm going to say done. So now I've recategorized that one. This one also, I would like to say that it's going to be a tag as business versus personal. So business versus personal. So I'd like a tag, and I have here business tag. So let's keep that one, business tag. Okay, and then done. So now we have a tag on it for business. So I'll do all that for the business and tag them on the business. So Stripe, I'll do the same thing here. This one's going to be 1050, that, and then the tag is going to be business. I'm going to say done. Now you would think it would kind of start to pick those up, the Stripe income, but it's still making me transfer them. So hopefully future transactions, it will start to read this and memorize this transaction, but it's not as automatic as if I could set basically a bank rule to do this for me. So I'm going to, as you can in QuickBooks. So I'm going to say this is going to be income 1050 there, and then the tag's going to be business, and then I'm not going to manage the tags. I'm going to say done. Okay, and then interest income. So I have skill success, and so skill success I'm gonna say is like gig work income or something like that. They have it in other income. I'm gonna make it more specific. And if you just need like if you don't have a lot of income sources, you can just call it income, but I'll add other income categories, which can give me a little bit more detail, not necessarily for a tax return. You don't need that much detail, but you might want to sort it out by a little bit more detail as long as you're doing so. So I'm going to create a category here and call it 1055, or yeah, 1060, let's say, and then let's call this gig work. So gig work income or something like that, right? I'm going to say, and then this is going to be an income, done. And so we're going to say that's gig work and say, okay, and close that out. And then the tag there, once again, is going to be income. And this should be gig work 1060 gig work. Okay, done. So we have that. Interest, it's probably not business income, so I'm going to leave that as is. They can call it interest income, and I'm gonna keep that as personal. And I might go back in later and add tags for personal. And then we have the transfer. Once again, this is the transfer from a Stripe, which we imagined was our website income. So I'm going to say 1050. So I'm going to say done on that one. And actually at the transfer information up top, I'd actually like that to be up higher. So I'm going to change that category a little bit. I'm going to edit and manage this, and I'm going to say that transfer category we put here. I'm going to say this needs to be edit. I'm going to call it 1005 or something like that. So it's definitely like at the top once I sort it. And this one, I'm going to say 1010. So 1010, 1010, like so. All right, and then I'm going to close this back out. So we have that, and then cancel this or done. So there we have that. Okay, so then if I go down, interest, then we have the Stripe. So Stripe, again, I'm going to try to sort this by income over here. Sort it by the amount. So now we've got PayPal, transfer. This is, I'm going to say gig work income. Let's say gig work income here. So once again, I'm going to say this is going to be, what did I call it? 1060 gig work. And I'll call this business and done. And so there is that. I'll call this gig work. So I'm going to say this is 1060 gig work business and done. So there we have that. And this one, again, I'll call it gig work. Let's say, or well, let's give it another let's say, let's call it another category. And we'll say that this is going to create a category of 1070. We'll call it YouTube income, just to break it out. We don't have to do this for taxes, but I'll just break it out. YouTube, and then we'll choose that. And I'm just kind of making up the categories here, but we'll say okay. And then this is going to be YouTube 1070 and business tag. So there we have that. And then a mobile deposit. So it pulled in the mobile deposits. Obviously, if you deposit like checks, if you don't have like gig work, it's an electronic transfers. If you have gig work, it'll show up in the memo and they can kind of assign it a little bit more easily. If you don't have gig work and you have checks or cash that you're depositing, then basically anything that's a deposit you're going to put into income, unless it's deposit from some other source. It'll be harder to track. And then if it's a check, then again, you might have to just group everything as income that's a check, because it's not going to be able to read the vendor. You just got to be very careful that if it's not income, you record it in some other area if it's something other than, income. So if you have electronic transfers, this becomes a lot easier because the bank has more demo or memo data to guess the transactions on. So I'm going to say this is a deposit, so I'm going to assume that it's going to be some type of income. So I'll make another income account, and I'm going to call it, what was I on? 1080. Let's call it consulting income. I'm just making these things up here. Income, done. And then closing the categories. And then I'm going to say this is 1080 consulting income, done. And then I'll put that here as well. So this is going to be income, 1080 consulting income, business, done. And then again here, we're going to say this is 1080 and business, done. And then here we'll say this is 1080 business, done. And then this one's gig work, we'll say gig work income. So we're going to call this 10, what did I call it? What did I call the gig work? 1060 business, done. And then add, we'll call this YouTube income, 10. Oh, what did I do? 1080 and 1070 and business income and done. And then this is, I'm not, well, this is coming from a brokerage. So this is investment income, which isn't business. I could just put personal there. Investment. This is transfer. Now this is coming from a Stripe account, so I'm going to say that's like website income. We called it 10 website income, and then business. There it is, and done. So if you set notice if you set these up at the beginning and you have data that comes in after this, they might be able to better categorize these as you go. But you do not have the same amount of functionality to do this as you would in QuickBooks, where you could set those bank rules up. That's where QuickBooks can kind of save time. So other income, Guitar Center. So Guitar Center, other income. So I'm going to go ahead and call that gig work. Let's say gig work 1060 business and done. And then we've got the transfer from the Stripe account. That's going to be 10. What do we call that? We call that website income and business and done. And then Google. So I'll call that YouTube. So 1070 business and done. And then other income, I'll call this gig work. Gig work. We're going to say 1060 business and done. And then we've got investment. So I'll keep that. We might call that personal just on the tag. I'll keep it. And then prime. This looks like it's coming from the IRS. So I'll keep that personal. Paycheck, salary, probably. If it was a paycheck, let's imagine this was a paycheck or salary. Then, of course, we can charge it as paycheck salary, and we might then put it on a tag. Instead of a reimbursement, I might manage and create a tag called personal, right? So then when I export it, I can track the tags of personal and business. And so I'm going to close this back out and then say this is going to be personal tag. And that'll help us to sort out business and personal. So then we have Visa. This is a credit card payment. So that should be fine because it's a transfer. Payment. This looks like securities. Transfer. Once again, this is a Stripe. So we'll say this is going to be 10. This is website. And we'll say business and done. And then investment. And this is going to be gig work. So we'll say gig. No, we'll say 1060 business and done. And then transfer Stripe. So we're going to say, okay, this is going to be, we're going to say this is going to be 10, what do we call this? Website, business, and done. And then once again, 10 here, business and done. And then brokerage, this is a transfer, time, account, audible. So this, we might put that in another income account. We'll say this is going to be an income account for 1090 audible or audiobooks or something like that. Income, some other gig work thing. And we'll close that one out. So this is going to be 1090 business and done. And then we have here audible again. So they put it into hobbies but it's an income. So that 1090 here and business and done. And then transfers, that looks fine. And then other income, we'll put this under gig work, 108 or 60 business and done. And then Audible, we're going to say this is 1090 and 1090, 1090, 1090, business and done. And then I think that's good. Audible again. So I'll say this is going to be 1090, business and done. And then marketing management, other income, we'll say this is going to be, let's just call it gig work and done. Or I also need a tag, business, done, transfer, Stripe account, website, we're going to say 10. There's website income, business, and done. And then Stripe account 10, website income, business, and done. And then brokerage Stripe account, and we're going to say 10 here, business and done. And then we've got this one, Amazon. So I'll just make another category for that. We'll say Amazon income. Let's say 1095 Amazon income. And we'll say this is income and okay. And so Amazon 1090, 1095, Amazon income, business, and done. And then here we'll say this is consulting. So consulting income, business, and done. And this is going to be consulting, we'll say consulting and business and done. And then transfer from the Stripe. This is going to be 10, website income, business, and done. And then we've got Stripe again. We're going to say this is going to be 1060, 1050, business and done. And then once again, 1050, business and done. And again, this is where it becomes tedious, 1050. Again, if you did this at the beginning, it might be able to pick these up after you download again. But this is where it could save time if you're doing a lot of categorization here with QuickBooks by setting up bank rules to do this. 1050 and then business and done. And then this would be 1050, business and done. And then once again, 1050, business and done. And then once again, 1050, business and done. And then transfer, we're going to say 1050, business and done. And then Amazon, so that was 1095, business and done. And then Amazon income, so I'll say 1095, business done. Almost there here, I think. And then I'm going to call this consulting, business and done. And Amazon, so we'll say this is going to be 1095, Amazon, business and done. And Amazon 1095, here, business and done. Amazon, so 1095, business and done. And then Amazon 1095, here, business and done. And then Skillshare, it's going to be gig work, we're saying 1060 business and done. And then investment, okay, Amazon. Amazon has a lot of little payments. 1095 business and done. And then Amazon 1095 business and done. And then Amazon 1095 business and done. And then interest, Amazon 2 more times. So Amazon 1095 here, business and done. And let's do one more Amazon. We'll say 1095 here, business and done. So we went through that kind of quickly, and again, we're just making up categories to do it. You could just use one income category, which would make it faster. This is where, like I say, if you transferred all the data in, QuickBooks would be faster, because once you did something like that Amazon one time, you could set up a bank rule where QuickBooks will then try to automatically figure out where the next ones would go. You do have to understand how bank rules work and to do that, but you can do that. And also note that in QuickBooks, you couldn't kind of leave transactions to themselves. You want to categorize all of them, whether they be balance sheet or personal. So you got to do both sides of it. Here, like if I categorize, say, these Amazon, for example, will they categorize in the future next time I download more data, or will they continually incorrectly categorize? Meaning, will it be able to pick up the new categorizations we put in just by memorization without bank rules? Maybe. I'm not totally sure on that. I know for a fact that it doesn't have as much functionality for memorizing transactions as QuickBooks. But we can go through and categorize these, and once categorized, then the sorting is fairly easy. Although we do have to use Excel if we were going to use this software to do it, instead of basically QuickBooks, which would typically just have the business information, which would then just sort it, into an income statement like so. After we've entered the data into it, and a balance sheet. So if I go back on over here, then what we'll do next time is I might go then and add tags for anything that's personal or transfer, just so we have tags for everything, because that might make it easier to sort the data once we export it. And so we may take a look at that, and then we got to categorize, obviously, the expense side of things, which we'll take a look at next time.